I don't consider myself a gold expert, and to be honest, I hate publicity. But after 26 years, I've decided to come forward and publicly reveal exactly how I managed to make my fortune and retire at 42, decades earlier than I'd planned. By using a simple gold technique I've developed, which has nothing to do with stocks or bullion, and without ever touching conventional investments like ETFs, mutual funds, or bonds. Bear in mind, I've been contacted by literally thousands of investors about this secret and 12 different banks, on and off Wall Street. Even the vice president of one of the world's largest oil firms has asked me about it. But for the entirety of my career, almost 3 decades, I never told any outsiders how I made my fortune. Hi, my name is Jeff Clark. Until recently, I only ever applied this technique at a private money management firm I ran in Silicon Valley, for an exclusive group of about 100 wealthy clients I selected. Most of my former clients were CEOs, entrepreneurs, and venture capitalists. I handled all their accounts, typically worth hundreds of thousands of dollars each. One account I handled was worth $20 million, another $30 million. Today, I stay home with my beautiful wife and 2 young sons and spend most of my free time coaching Little League. It's a quiet life, and I enjoy it. But after recent events in the gold market, and at the urging of my colleagues at S&A Investment Research, I've decided to create this unique video presentation to share an unusually successful secret I found. You see, there's no question that gold is one of the best investments in the world right now. Gold prices are up 378% over the past decade. If you're like most people, you may have already bought gold stocks, bullion, or some other gold investment. If so, you'll probably do quite well. But in this presentation, I'm going to tell you about a much different way to make money on gold, gains of 5 to 10 times more, in a fraction of the time, no matter what happens to the price of gold along the way. At my old money management firm, I can tell you we generated literally millions of dollars with this secret. And today, it's no different. Take a look. Here's just a snapshot, in chronological order, of some of the gold plays I've found since the gold market began heating up in 2006. As you can see, on a number of plays above, I was able to recommend selling half the open position in order to lock in the gains, noted as first half. Doing so not only allowed me to preserve those gains, but to continue to be aggressive with the remaining position, often for even greater gains. Just consider, on March 5th of this year, if you'd put $5,000 into my Seabridge Gold play alone, you could have doubled your money in 7 days. My point is simple. If you own gold or plan to invest in it soon, please don't put another penny into the gold market until you've finished watching this video. In short, what you're about to see could have a dramatic effect on how you invest, save for retirement, and based on my own experience, could show you a fortune. I'd estimate several $1,000s per month. Let me give you the full story. Bigger, faster gold gains. The way things are going in the U.S. economy right now, gold could eventually hit $5,000 an ounce. Some folks predict $10,000 an ounce. But one thing's for certain, like anything else in the financial market, it won't be a smooth ride. There'll be a lot of very large bumps along the way. And if you're willing to try something different, you have a chance to make a lot of money from this situation right now. Take the summer of 2011, for example, when gold was a huge topic throughout the investment world. On July 1st, 2011, I felt that gold prices would soon take off. At the same time, I sent a mass email saying, gold stocks are finally ready to rally. Should lead to higher prices in the next few weeks and months. Sure enough, within 2 weeks, the Market Vectors Gold Miners Index was up 12%. And I found a play on Goldfields, which, all the way to the end, saw a 135% gain. But I didn't touch the stock. In fact, on July 12th alone, I saw a 79% gain on Goldfields in just 8 hours. Now, I'm not saying I have a crystal ball. But the simple fact is, when it comes to gold and gold stocks, I've developed a very reliable way to identify which direction they're going over the short term, not only on the upside, but on the downside as well. For example, on August 18, 2011, I predicted gold prices would fall and sent out a mass email saying gold could be headed for a nasty correction. At the time, it was a bold prediction. Gold had just reached a new record high, making headlines that very same day in Business Week and MarketWatch. But sure enough, gold dropped $200 per ounce over the next few days, one of the biggest gold drops of 2011. And I saw a 226% gain in just 8 days on the Spider Gold shares. As always, without touching the stock or any other conventional investment. In fact, last year, while most gold investors simply bought and held stocks, I saw a 112% gain in 2 days on Seabridge Gold and a 100% gain in 24 hours on the Gold Miners ETF in the space of just a single week. The bottom line is that gold is a terrific investment right now. But if all you ever do is buy and hold gold stocks or bullion, you're overlooking a huge potential to make up to 5 to 10 times bigger gains faster than you'd ever make in the stock market with a typical buy and hold strategy. Can you blame me? Other than the money I made, my biggest surprise after I first discovered this secret was all the attention I started getting. Mostly, the folks who saw my earnings wanted to know how I'd managed to find a way of making 4 to 5 figures in profit at a time, completely outside the world of conventional Wall Street investments. For example, on one transaction, I tripled my money in a single day. And in my early days, when I was still just testing this technique, I once made 10 times my money over the course of a Friday afternoon. But to make this money, I didn't use stocks, bonds, mutual funds, dividends, ETFs, or any other conventional Wall Street approach. In fact, it doesn't involve currency trading, special situations, secret computer programs, real estate, gold coins, or private deals either. Given how much Wall Street loves money, you can imagine how quickly my story began to spread. One morning, my phone rang, and the executive of a Silicon Valley software startup asked if I'd be willing to manage his $20 million personal account. Then more calls came from similar folks, entrepreneurs, CEOs, programmers, vice presidents, all with accounts worth over $1 million apiece. It was an interesting situation. There I was, an ordinary guy from Kansas, without an MBA degree, who hadn't done all that well at college and spent much of his free time watching baseball on TV, and now my phone was ringing off the hook with offers from mutual funds, banks, and millionaires. The way I saw it, I had 2 choices. I could release my secret to the public and land a high-paying research or brokerage job at any of the dozen of Wall Street banks who had contacted me, like PaineWebber, who made a tempting offer. Or I could keep it all to myself and milk it for every penny I could. So I told Wall Street, thanks, but no thanks. And I hand-selected a list of around 100 of the richest people who had contacted me and agreed to manage all of their accounts with the understanding that I would never reveal to them exactly how my secret works, and that the account minimum would be $250,000. And boy, did my clients and I make money. One transaction I found turned every $5,000 stake into $64,250 in just 48 hours. That's a 1,285% gain. Another transaction turned every $5,000 into $68,150. And remember, I was handling accounts worth as much as $30 million apiece. So you can imagine what our profits were. In fact, my money management firm was so successful, I was approached by a San Francisco software giant who asked me to manage their $125 million pension plan. But I didn't let all this change my personality. In fact, in later years after leaving the business, I made a point of sharing a few of the transactions I found with regular folks too. Like a musician from Tucson I came across, Tim Kay, who later told me, on numerous occasions, I've made over $10,000 in a few days. Or Tony in St. Paul, who teaches 5th grade math. I shared a transaction with him too. He got into it just before lunch one Tuesday morning, then doubled his money by lunch the following day. What it comes down to is that I'm just a 47-year-old former money manager who's found an easy way to make a lot of money in the markets, especially in gold, no matter what happens to stocks. Of course, by now you're probably wondering the same thing everyone else who's met me comes to wonder sooner or later. What is this thing, Jeff? Let me start by showing you an example. The technique I discovered. Take Barrick Gold, for example, a gold mining company. Last summer, I knew the US dollar would soon get worse and that gold prices would take off, taking gold stocks like ABX for the ride. At the time, on August 7th, I even sent out a mass email saying everything is falling in place for a gold stock rally. Suppose you decided to invest in Barrick Gold. If you're like most folks, you'd have done it the Wall Street way and bought shares. For example, let's say you put $1,000 into the stock on August 1st, 2012. Sure enough, over the following month, the stock rose 19%. A nice gain if you'd simply bought and held the stock. But let me tell you something. In my lifetime, I've met hundreds of brokers. At one time, I actually hired over 45 brokers to work for me to help me fulfill all the demand I attracted with my money management firm. So I can assure you, what you'll likely never hear about from a typical broker is that there's a second way to profit without buying a single share. In the case of Barrick Gold, for example, you could have waited until August 7th. Then, at 10 a.m. in the morning, you could have applied one simple technique. As you can probably guess, it's the technique I've been using all my life. Just look here. By August 23rd, just 16 days later, I saw a 145% gain, which is enough to more than double your money. Bottom line, if you'd bought and held the stock, you'd have made 19%. But with my technique, you'd have had the opportunity to make 6 times more money in about half the time. And it would have taken you just seconds to execute the technique in your brokerage account, just as if you were buying the stock. In short, you can make more money than buying stocks faster, and the way I do it, with only modest risk. As you can probably tell, it all amounts to a trading approach. Now, bear in mind, I'm certainly not the only person in the world who uses this type of trading. But in my case, I apply a proprietary technique that's entirely my own, which I've kept to myself for 26 years. And this separates me from, I'd say, about 99% of everyone else in the market. For me personally, it's made a difference of thousands of dollars at a time. In fact, I'm proud to say my technique has helped me achieve so much success, I was hired by a California university, served as the dean of their business school, and taught an entire course on this type of trading, even though I don't even have an MBA, and became the youngest dean in the school's history by about 20 years. In short, you may have heard other people who use the same type of trading I'm about to show you, or even tried it yourself. But I can assure you, you've never seen it quite the way I do it. For me, it all boils down to one thing: a secret key. You see, it's important you realize I'm not the only person in the history of the markets who's come across a secret to finding opportunities to make money. You may not know it, but the markets are full of examples of ordinary people who found little-known techniques, indicators, systems, or any other strategy they developed entirely on their own before anyone else thought of it to turn what are otherwise typical investing approaches into their own personal cash registers. Consider Edward Thorpe, for instance, a math teacher. Back in the early 1970s, he was reading the Wall Street Journal one morning and doing calculations when he discovered an anomaly in trading prices. If he wanted to, he could have gone public and won huge recognition. But Thorpe wasn't interested in fame or a high-paying research job. "What I saw was a way to make a lot of money," he later said. And boy, did he. Over the next 4 months, Thorpe made $6 million with his secret anomaly. He kept it all to himself because he was smart enough to realize that if the secret went public, it would no longer be effective. Well, get this. Soon after, someone else discovered Thorpe's anomaly, a couple of economists named Fisher Black and Myron Scholes. It was released in a journal of academic studies and as a result was awarded the Nobel Prize. That's why, for many years now, I've kept my secret all to myself. It's possible that if I went public with it on a mass scale, I could become a much better-known figure in the financial world. But who cares? I'd much rather the secret remain as effective as when I first found it and milk it for all I can. And for reasons I'll explain, that's exactly what I'll show you how to do in this presentation. You see, what I've discovered is a secret key. I apply it to a particular niche of the trading world, which I guess not 1 out of 1,000,000 people ever use the correct way. If you know how to use it, this niche is one of the most profitable and safest places to put your money. But unfortunately, without a key or strategy, you have no real advantage over anyone else. For me personally, it's changed how I invest. For example, I once turned every $2,600 into $32,838 in just over 2 months with this secret. With gains like that, you can see why I've spent most of my career avoiding stocks and bonds and mutual funds entirely. Hundreds of folks have asked me to share it, but the most I've ever been willing to share are some of the transactions I find. As a fellow named Marty, a business owner I came across, told me, I made 100% in 24 hours. Joe S. says, I made 1,017% in less than 2 days. Wow. And Gary Wrights in Chicago made $310,000 in under a year with this secret. I repeat, the trading niche I follow is one of the most misunderstood in the entire market, even though I've used it to show dozens of people a fortune. So before I go on, I urge you to keep an open mind. Chances are, everything you've ever heard about this niche is complete garbage. spread by a small number of people who are simply too lazy and narrow-minded to ever sit down and take the time to learn how it truly works. 99% of Americans are wrong. In short, I use an options technique, but let me make this clear. While I'd estimate 99% of Americans trade options the wrong way, I've developed my own secret key, which helped me generate millions of dollars in profits for my clients and allowed me to retire at age 42. Take Seabridge, for example, a gold explorer. On May 22, 2012, I felt certain gold prices were about to rise over the summer, and that Seabridge was one of the best gold mining stocks to own. But as you can probably guess, I did not buy shares. Instead, I applied the key I mentioned, and that same day, I found an options play for the company. Why options? You'll see why in just a moment. Sure enough, the stock rose 21% in 8 days, a pretty good gain. But by using an options play instead, I saw a 112% gain in just 2 days, 5 times more money during the exact same week. And that's the first lesson of using options. In short, options give you what's known as leverage. That means for every 1-point move in a stock, an options play could make you 10 to 20 times more money or more, and if done right, with less risk than stocks. The big question is, how do you know which options play to buy? On Seabridge, for example, there were literally dozens available. The answer is, I applied the key I mentioned. And that brings me to the next lesson of using options, a benefit that allows you the opportunity to make money no matter which direction the market moves. For example, consider Spider Gold shares. As I mentioned earlier, back on August 19, 2011, I predicted gold prices would drop. And sure enough, the price began falling. Most people stood by and simply watched as gold fell $200 per ounce. Obviously, you would never buy gold stocks in this situation. But with options, it was a completely different story, and where most people saw nothing but a falling knife, I saw a chance to make a killing. So I applied my secret key and found an options play for GLD. Sure enough, the stock dropped 7%, and while shareholders lost money, I saw a 226% gain in 8 days. And that's the second lesson of using options. In short, you can make money whether stocks go up or down. In other words, there's a way to profit on both sides of the share price, no matter what happens to the stock, the markets, or the economy. In fact, in 2008, during the worst financial panic we've seen in decades, I had by far the most successful year of my career. As one of my former clients, a Silicon Valley executive, once wrote us, no matter whether the stock market is moving up or down, Jeff Clark somehow manages to find a strategy that works. Overall, I could not be happier with his performance. I'm flattered by notes like this, but really, finding the right options play is much easier than you think once you have the key I mentioned. For example, take a look at some of the gains I've found just recently. And that's why in today's stock market, which has swung as much as 400 points in one day recently, the largest volatility we've seen since the 2008 crisis, there's a rare opportunity to make an absolute fortune right now using options. And frankly, I believe 2013 could be as volatile as any year we've seen yet. But please, don't make the mistake most Americans make. You see, most people think the only way to make money in the options market is by becoming a day trader and sitting behind a computer all day, getting in and out of plays that last just minutes at a time. Believe me, that's total bunk, not to mention way too risky. And then there are people who think the only way to make big money is by overbetting. Believe me, that's complete garbage too. The fact is, I ran my private money management firm by doing just one thing over and over again, which you can do yourself at home in a few minutes per week. In short, I always look for one single perfect play. I get in, wait for the gains, and get out. It's that simple. Bottom line, by using the secret, you can make a lot more money on gold very quickly, no matter which direction the price moves. Having said that, I don't just apply this secret to the gold markets alone, but also to dozens of other sectors, including blue chips, oil and natural gas, biotech, you name it. Take Palomar Technologies, for example, a medical stock which caught my attention in July 2008. As you can see in this chart, at the time, the stock was headed straight for the ground, dropping day after day. As you can imagine, many folks in the market saw this as a perfect opportunity to buy what's known as a put option, an option that makes money when stocks go down, and hundreds of people got in. But not me. When I applied my secret key, I was surprised to see that the exact opposite play would be better. I remember being so excited, I fired off an email the morning of July 21st to my contact list, saying, "We're looking at a truly explosive situation here. We can make 300% gains in a month." A lot of people thought I was nuts, but watch what happened. Sure enough, the stock rose 20%. And if you'd followed my options play all the way to the end, you could have seen a 490% gain in 25 days, enough to quadruple your money. One fellow emailed me saying, "It's like having a cash register. That's the value of the key I've discovered." Over the years, I've learned to trust everything it finds in the options market. In fact, I've learned that the more unusual the options play I find, the bigger the potential gain. Let me show you what I mean. Consider EWW, for example, which follows the Latin America sector. For over a year, the stock went straight up. At a glance, this stock appeared to be headed for the moon. To most people in the options market, it looked like a perfect opportunity to buy what's known as a call option, an option that makes money when stocks rise, and hundreds got in. But not me. When this stock came to my attention in January 2010, I applied my secret key, and I determined once again that the exact opposite play would be better. So on January 20th, I fired off an email urging folks to get in, saying, "We'll make up to 300%, should be a quick trade." Bear in mind, given how well the stock was doing, I admit it made me uncomfortable to get into this play. But after 26 years in the market, I've learned to trust my key, even if I'm doing something only 1% of the entire market would even consider. Well, you can probably guess what happened next. Sure enough, the stock fell 5%. And if you'd followed my options play, you'd have seen a 100% gain in just 5 days, enough to double your money in less than a week, while most other folks in the options market probably didn't make a penny on this company. One fellow emailed me saying, "Jeff, your insight is almost clairvoyant." Now, that's an exaggeration, of course, but I love getting notes like this. The bottom line is that the technique I've developed allows me to analyze any situation in the markets and determine in advance which of the dozens of available options plays offers the greatest potential gain. That's why I like to describe it as a key. You see, the biggest lesson I learned while running my private money management firm and generating millions of dollars in profits is that the options market is essentially a huge chest full of drawers. When you open them, some drawers contain the potential for thousands of dollars in gains, while other drawers are empty. By using the technique I've developed, I can essentially unlock these drawers and look inside before I ever get into a transaction. I'm constantly surprised by what I find. Take Silver Wheaton, for example, a silver company. When this stock came to my attention on December 2nd, 2008, my secret key helped me find an options play. As usual, I trusted my analysis. But over the following days, nothing happened. The play didn't go anywhere. It wasn't until almost 3 months later, on February 25th, that my options play finally unfolded as I thought it would. In this case, at a 283% gain. That's not bad, of course, but it took me 84 days to see it. Now consider another example. On January 22nd, 2008, my secret key alerted me to an options play in Citigroup. It was 10 a.m. when I found it, but this time, the play began unfolding within a span of minutes, faster than any options play I'd seen in years. Just 8 hours later, it unfolded exactly as I thought it would, and we saw a 100% gain. 84 days versus 8 hours. In both cases, I saw a substantial gain. But my point is that when it comes to the key I've developed, it's often a surprise even to me what I'll find, and how exactly the position will unfold. Usually, I like to close a position within 2 weeks or less, but the reality is, when it comes to making the biggest possible gains, anything is possible. That's why, after decades of first-hand experience, I've learned to put aside my emotions and always follow the key. It even works on some of the market's biggest trends. Take gold again, for example. As I mentioned earlier, over the past decade, there's probably been no stronger and more profitable trend than the rise of gold prices. It makes sense, given the federal debt crisis, growing inflation in America, and the troubled economy. The price of gold has shot up as much as 133% over the past several years alone. Remember, gold has kept its value throughout the history of civilization, while dozens of paper currencies have collapsed. And believe me, as the debt situation has worsened, I've been finding some of the biggest gains of my life with gold and precious metals. So you can imagine my surprise when on the morning of February 24th, 2009, by following my secret key, I realized that Agnico Eagle, one of the biggest gold explorers in the business, was about to take a dive. Boy, I found that hard to believe. Gold was still on a tear, And Agnico Eagle stock had gone up 108% in just the previous 4 months. But as I said, I always follow my key. And when I found an options play around 10 a.m. that morning, what happened next was unlike anything most people could have ever anticipated. The stock took a 10% dive. And if you can believe this, I saw a 100% gain in just 48 hours. By the way, I hope I don't come across in this presentation as being a braggart. That's one reason why I went 26 years without sharing my secret in public. Even after all my success, I live a quiet life and try to avoid publicity. And I'll be honest, I've met thousands of traders in my career, and what I've found is that the ones with the biggest egos are the ones who turn out to be the biggest losers over the long run. The truth is, I'm just an ordinary guy who happened across an incredible secret for finding opportunities to make money. Frankly, I've been able to make money in situations where 99% of the market doesn't, for just one simple reason. The secret is other people. To put it simply, my technique allows me to look at all the thousands of other people in the options market, see exactly where they're putting their own money, then apply that information to see which plays have the biggest potential gain. Why is this so effective exactly? Well, as you know, in the stock market, the way to make money is by getting in front of other investors before the share price takes off. But in the options world, as I've shown you, it's different. Now, I'd be happy to stop right here and walk you step by step through the process I follow, but it would take me at least 30 minutes and require a lot of technical details that would probably bore you. That's why I've prepared a research report that will give you a quick overview of how my trading technique works and show you how to begin using the secret yourself with just a few minutes effort each week. It's called Spotting the Perfect Gold Play. If you're interested, I'd be happy to let you access my report free of charge in the next several minutes to look it over yourself. Inside, you'll learn how to spot the perfect gold options play, how I apply my secret key online, why it takes just 10 to 15 minutes per week to do this, and how to spot options plays with the greatest potential gain in dozens of other sectors in addition to gold. The bottom line is that for my former clients and folks I've come across over the years, my technique has made a difference of thousands of dollars at a time. Matt Zimmer in Ohio said he made $16,000 in 4 days, and Tim Duncan said he doubled his money 10 times. Again, feel free to look at my report and see exactly what I do. But please, bear in mind, I can't ever reveal the exact full details of the secret key I've developed. In order for it to stay effective, it's critical I keep it to myself, outside of my report, and not allow it to leak online. In other words, if I were to publicly reveal the key in its entirety, too many people would likely begin using it, and its potential to generate huge gains would be diminished. Having said that, here's the good news. Even though I can't reveal my secret key, I've been sharing the transactions I find with it for quite a while. I share them with folks all across the country who want a chance to make money with options, without having to do any of the in-depth analysis I do. Each Tuesday, I type up which options play I recommend, along with full details on why I believe it's a winner, and email it from my home office. So far, I've gotten some wonderful reactions. Reader Nick Salisbury made $5,000 in a single day recently. I've made about $15,000 in 3 weeks, says reader Bob Patterson. These notes are flattering, but remember, I'm just an ordinary guy with an incredible secret to spotting opportunities to make money. I don't pretend to be a guru. Each morning, I make a cup of coffee, sit down at my computer, and apply my key to the market. As I said, I keep the key entirely to myself so that it remains as powerful and effective as when I first found it. But I share what it finds. It's really that simple. If you'd like, I'll add you to my email list right now. Why would I do this? Well, life as a $200 million money manager was exhausting. I worked 16-hour days, trained hundreds of new brokers, and often pulled all-nighters on research. The stress was unbelievable. That's why in 2007, once I'd made enough money to last me many decades, I decided to close the business, slow down, and retire. Today I stay home with my beautiful wife and 2 sons and spend much of my free time coaching Little League. But the fact is, I still love waking up at dawn each morning and looking for the day's best potential options plays. That's why, several years ago, I approached an independent investment research firm called Stansberry & Associates. I'd been a subscriber to their work for several years and admired their staff. I asked if they'd be willing to publish my emails, and they agreed. Since then, my emails have become a weekly trading research letter called the S&A Short Report, named for the brief emails I write. I send them every Tuesday morning around 10 a.m. Eastern Time from my home office. One reader, Don Iolani, once wrote me,
I've only been doing this for 4 months, but this week I made 888% in less than 48 hours.
Another reader, Chris Landy, made over $50,000 in 1 year with the S&A short report. And reader Bill G tells me he's made around $600,000 so far since he began using the S&A short report. But by now you might be wondering, is options trading really right for you? Well, that's for you to decide. But there are two things you should keep in mind about this opportunity, especially right now. First, as I've shown you in my examples, if all you ever consider are stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, you're missing out on the chance to make 10 to 20 times more money in a fraction of the time. Remember, options give you leverage, more bang for your buck. Of course, in the investment world, nothing is 100% guaranteed, no matter what approach you take. But after developing my own options technique and successfully using it for over 2 decades at my former money management firm, I personally believe that options offer a greater potential to make money than any other investment, including stocks, bonds, mutual funds, or anything else. And I found that my secret key approach offers less risk than what you would see in the average options approach. And second, remember that options trading works on both the upside and downside of stock moves, which means you can make money no matter what happens next to the markets or the economy. As I mentioned earlier, I personally think we'll continue to see huge stock swings in 2013, as we've been seeing off and on now since the 2008 crisis. Well, in the S&A short report, we try to always take advantage of big swings. Consider this, a $5,000 stake in each of my options picks in 2008 would have given you a total profit of $63,913. As reader Frank Daly says,
My first trade resulted in a 155% return in 2 days.
And short report reader Mitch Anderson says,
In a few months, I've doubled my money. You were right.
Having said that, there are two things you should keep in mind. First, we recommend you have at least $10,000 in investing capital set aside. Of course, it's your decision how much money you put into each options play, or whether you choose to even invest at all. But it's a good idea to have at least this much capital at your disposal, altogether, to get the maximum benefit from S&A short report. And second, you'll need to make sure your brokerage account is set up for using options. If it's already set up, great. If not, don't worry. You can use options with just about any brokerage account we know of. All it takes is a phone call to set it up. And finally, there's something else you'll need to consider. For over 2 decades, I only shared my options picks with a list of about 100 clients at my California-based money management firm. I hand-selected these folks from some of the wealthiest vice presidents, CEOs, and entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley. Almost every client was a millionaire, and I made them many millions of dollars more in profit. The account minimum was $250,000, and I collected a standard 2% fee. Bottom line, until recently, you'd have never been able to access my work, and if you had, you would have had to pay up for it. I was essentially off limits to all but the wealthiest executives. That's why I believe the S&A short report offers the best deal you're ever likely to come across for a trading research letter. For literally a tiny fraction of the price I once charged my millionaire clients, you get full access to all my best weekly options picks for the next 12 months. As one of my readers, Mark H., once put it,
These picks have been nothing short of amazing. I have traded the market for many years and have experienced terrific success, but I must admit I have never seen something this good. Thank you.
Having said that, I've always felt that when it comes to investment research, you get what you pay for. That's why from the very beginning of my deal with Stansberry & Associates, I've always insisted on charging a higher than usual price for the short report. As one of my readers once put it,
You should charge $10,000 a year for the short report to keep out the riffraff.
1 full year of the short report costs $4,000. If that sounds like too much money, then it probably isn't for you. Short report is meant for serious-minded folks who are serious about seeing opportunities to make money and are willing to pay for a piece of the action. But I wasn't born wealthy. And again, I believe we'll continue to see huge stock swings over the next 12 months, and my technique offers what I feel is the single best way to take full advantage of that situation, week in and week out, especially in the gold market. That's why, if you're truly interested in making money with options and want to get started right now, I'm willing to make you a special offer. In short, if you sign up today, I'll knock $1,000 off the price. That's a 25% discount, which means you can receive 1 full year of short report for just $3,000. Just remember, I plan to close this offer soon. As I mentioned earlier, I don't like publicity. So if you're interested, I urge you to get in now. As a new member of the SNA Short Report, you'll receive my newest options play this coming Tuesday around 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Like every options play I recommend, you'll have the potential to make a 100% gain or better in as quickly as a few weeks to a few days or hours. Here's just a snapshot of the gains my readers have made all across the country. You'll receive a new options play by email every single Tuesday for the next year, along with full details on how to execute it. And in the next few minutes, you'll receive a password to the SNA Short Report website, where you'll have full access to my research report. It's called Spotting the Perfect Gold Play. Don't worry, it won't take you more than 15 minutes to skim through this report and learn everything you'll need to get started right away. Throughout the week, I'll be in touch with you by email to share any important updates and show you when to close each new position. And here's something else I think you'll like. You'll also receive access to a series of online trading videos I created, designed to show anyone how to get started using options, no matter what your background. Altogether, there are 8 different videos. Each video is brief and easy to watch, and explains step by step everything you need to know and more in order to follow my investment key approach each Tuesday morning for a chance to make thousands of dollars per year without touching any conventional investments. Just remember, I kept my technique entirely a secret for 26 years, and I don't like publicity. I'm closing this offer soon, so if you're interested, I urge you to get in now before it's too late. You'll save $1,000 off the price. I think you'll find it's more than worth it. As one SNA Report reader told me,
I am a brand new subscriber to Short Report. I signed up just in time to get your trade last week. I was a bit nervous, but I went ahead. The gain just paid for my subscription for the year. Keep 'em coming.
having said that, I'm also willing to make you a standard guarantee. Take the next 90 days to have a look at my work. I personally think it will change the way you think about investing. But if you're not happy for any reason, just let us know, and SNA Research will issue a prompt refund minus only the standard 10% handling fee. One reason I've kept this secret to myself for so many years is I don't like to attract attention. That's why I'm closing this offer soon. So if you're interested, I urge you to get in now before this offer expires and get $1,000 off. To secure your spot, click the Subscribe Now button below this video player.